Today in this video, I'm going to do my ranking of my least favorite movies ever, like the worst movies of all time, in my opinion. And I'm going to do 9 of them right now. The ninth one is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Now, I enjoyed the first Mortal Kombat movie. I thought it was a flawless victory. I think is my third favorite video game movie, with the new Mortal Kombat from last year being my fourth favorite. At first, it was the best video game ever, but then when I watched it more, it got me less. But I still enjoy Mortal Kombat 2021. But Mortal Kombat Annihilation, no way, because Mortal Kombat Annihilation is full of terrible special effects, horrible action, horrible it has too many characters, and horrible acting. Which, speaking of that, it replaced Christopher Lambert, Bridget Wilson, and Lyndon Ashby, who was my favorite actor, along with Kerry Tagawa in the first Mortal Kombat movie. And they were all replaced by different actors like James Bredard, Sandra Hess, and Chris Conrad. And Johnny Cage got killed off when his first introduction, and that sucks. Cause the only thing he said in the movie was, "It's not good." And there's some big, really weird problems with Sonya and Liu Kang, cause they're wearing these things, clothes that are not from that did not happen at the end of the first movie. Cause they're both wearing a white sleeveless shirt. Liu Kang's clothes is similar, but it's not the exact same. You can tell if you watch Mortal Kombat 1 and then Annihilation. And same with Sonya, where she's wearing a sleeveless white shirt, but she wears a brown elongated shirt. And this has the worst use of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, because they only appear in one scene where they fight, never seen again, making them pointless in the story. And Shinnok looks nothing like the character at all. Like, he doesn't. But yeah, that's for Mortal Kombat Annihilation flaws. It was terrible, but not as terrible as the next video game movie. The eighth one is the 2019 Lion King movie. Now, the original is a classic Disney animated movie, and it will always be. I watched it recently on Disney Plus, and it's so good with the animation, voice acting, story, and characters. This one is terrible for many reasons. One is basic, like most live action remakes, it's a shot for shot remake instead of it's computer animated. And the voice acting is okay, but not the same as the one from the original. And Scar is just a boring villain. Like, Scar is one of my favorite villains of all time, but this one is really boring. And yeah, sometimes the CGI doesn't sometimes look good either. Although Seth Rogen as Pumbaa and the Evan Goldberg as Timon are good. They're the best parts of the movie. But yeah, the rest sucks. Let's go on to the next one. The seventh one is Batman and Robin, which stars George Clooney as Batman, Chris O'Donnell as Robin, Arnold as Mr. Freeze, and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. Now, I enjoy Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. the good and awesome DC superhero films, Batman Forever is decent. Like, I like Jim Carrey as Riddler, and Val Kilmer is decent as Batman, but not as much as Michael Keaton. But not George Clooney. His performance is really the worst I've ever seen of Batman on screen. More than anybody that played Batman ever. And that's not it, because there's also some other bad parts. Like, it also has another problem that happened with Batman Forever, which are the suits, because they have nipples and butts on it, which is just stupid and weird, even for a Batman movie. And Batgirl is bad as well, not just because of her suit, but because her name is Barbara Wilson instead of a Barbara Gordon, which is weird, and she's Alfred's niece instead of James Gordon's dad. And the villains are, I'll give it credit, they're decent, but their acting are not good. Especially Mr. Arnold's freeze, because where he says a bunch of ice bombs like,
cool body, the job to perfection. Why kill the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Mercy. I'm afraid. The legislature made me cold. Can you please have mercy? Everything. Freeze.
that's the best I can do to impersonate Arnold, but yeah. And Bane is the worst character in the movie. He's just a stupid character. He is a henchman instead of his own character, which is dumb. But I do like his costume, it's quite accurate. Yeah, the villains' costumes are the best ones, costumes. But their acting are not good. And yeah, Batman Robin is not a good film. It's not a good not a good superhero film. The sixth one is The Last Airbender, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Now, I have two things to say. First, I love the animated series. It's a really amazing episode. It's clever, it's funny, it's unique, it's colorful, and great story. And second, I watched a few minutes of it and I stopped it because it was really bad. And here's the problems. First of all, the CGI is terrible, especially with Abbas, whose design looks really strange, even for an adaptation of the character. Second, the whitewashing, one of the main criticisms of the film that have I seen. And I understand that because Katara, Sokka, Zuko, Iroh, and the good guys are white, but the villains are black, which I think is kind of awful because it makes it look like a war black between two races instead of the Save the World movie from the fire nation from taking over the world. And what makes things worse about this is that Sokka's actor and Zuko's actor look nothing like the characters from the show. Even with the actor of Zuko, you can barely see the scar. And another problem is the mispronunciations of Aang, Sokka, and Iroh, which are Ong, Sokka, and Uro. Those are the worst mispronunciations ever that I have seen in cinema. I did. There are some. I like the costumes of it, but yeah, the rest is terrible. And also the action that I seen is also bad. So yeah, this is a bad adaptation of a beloved show that everyone can enjoy. But this movie is not. And I got to give credit that Aang's actor looks like Aang, but his performance is not good. And that's pretty much it about the film. Let's move on to the next one. The fifth one is The Spirit, directed by Frank Miller. Now, I'll be honest. It is the movie where I discovered who the Spirit is, and the visual is really impressive. And Gabriel Mag as the Spirit isn't too bad, but that doesn't make it for a really good movie. Cause first of all, I found it a bit too weird, a bit strange, especially going on with the fight scenes. The action scenes are so bad they're good. Um but there are some really bizarre scenes like the Nazi scene. I don't know why that happens, and there's a moment where Samuel Jackson kills a cat named Muffin, and the spirit became like,
and this one's for Muffin.
And there's, and I don't know why. I probably because it's a Frank Miller movie, but the film is made in black and white instead of lighthearted like the comics, which is strange. And they also revealed the octopus face, which is not like the comic. And some character and Samuel Jackson as the octopus. I don't like it. It's really awful and stupid. Yes, most of the dialogue are terrible, like a lot of them. And I think the part where the spirit goes to heaven and kiss Lolai, but then he tries to says no, and that was the best part of this movie. But the other scenes aren't, and no. I'm surprised of how violent and bloody it was for a PG-13 movie. But still, yeah, the spirit is really a really bad film. A pretty silly bad film. The fourth one is Street Fighter, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia. And like I said earlier, this is the worst video game movie. And because of various reasons. One, the action sucks. The acting for most of the acting sucks. The most and Ryu sucks because he doesn't have the
Hadouken, Shoryuken,
and his name is mispronounced Ryu instead of Ryu, and he's not the main character. Yeah, they butchered Ryu. Yeah, there's no special moves of any for any Street Fighter characters aside from M. Bison in the movie's climax. And yeah, there is no street fighting, so it's not a tournament film, which is really strange. Now I play Street Fighter. I like Street Fighter. I play Street Fighter 5 the most. I play Street Fighter 4 a little bit, and I play Street Fighter 2 a little bit, as you already know, because I made a video of it on my channel. But yeah, Street Fighter the movie is really bad. The action, Ryu, Ryu being butchered, and no special moves, and not being a tournament movie. Jean-Claude Van Damme's performance as Guile is like one of the worst actings I ever seen, cause he doesn't play a very good American military. Someone else should have played Guile. There are two praises for the film. One, I thought Ming-Na Wen and Raul Julia as M. Bison and Chun-Li were good. I like them. I think I like Raul Julia as M. Bison the most because his like not just for his costume, but his lines are silly but hilarious. Like,
of course, Bison Dollar. For I Satan, like, and beheld from heaven like lightning.
they are silly and hilarious. And speaking of costumes, all the most of the costumes are accurate to the games, like Bolrog's. Oh, there's another flaw. Bolrog is a good guy instead of a bad guy, which is weird and doesn't make sense because he's a boss character in the games. Oh, but his costume's good. Same with M Bison's, Ryu's Ken, Zangief's, E Honda, I guess Guile, and Cammy and Chumley. Even when that doesn't have the exact colors, that replicates the games good, decently. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Street Fighter, not a good movie at all. Really bad video game film. I think Mario would have been worse, but I never seen it. But if I did, it would have been worse. The third one is Superman 4 The Quest for Peace. Now, I enjoyed Superman 1 and 2. I found them enjoyable. Old school superhero films with Christopher Reeve being a good Superman. And I'm never interested in Superman 3 and Supergirl, so I never seen them. I seen Superman Returns. It was good. It's a little boring sometimes, but it's decent good. Superman 4 is horrible with no redeeming qualities to it. The acting's the worst. None of them gave a great performance, not even Christopher Reeve. The action is the worst. They're not exciting. They're worse than any superhero film I've ever seen. The the villain Nuclear Man is the worst. He is super stupid and silly and a joke. The special effects are the worst. It's a joke as well, almost as much as any CGI ever in any other film. The um the ending was, I guess, okay, but still doesn't save the film either. And it's too short. It was only 1 hour 29 minutes. I only saw it once, but I remember a lot about the film, and it sucks. Really sucks. It's the worst DC film ever, and no comparison. But it's not the worst superhero movie because the second to last worst movie is Fantastic, the 2015 Josh Trank movie. Now, I enjoyed the last three Fantastic Four movies, especially the unreleased Roger Corman film. That's my favorite one because it's so bad, it's so good. Fan, fan, the Tim Story ones are actually really good, but there are some big, huge problems with them. But Fantastic, all of these are horrible. The dark tone is terrible because it doesn't make because it would be pointless because the MCU Fantastic Four movie would be lighthearted, could be lighthearted, and the last three were lighthearted, and the comic books are lighthearted for the most part. The costumes look nothing like the Fantastic Four suits ever, at all. They don't they just look like suits from another movie. They look like space action suits, like black space suits. Doctor Doom's design looks ugly and horrible. Like he looks like a robotic X-Men Origins Deadpool, but worse. And he's barely in the film, and he's just a lame villain compared to his previous appearance and that he appeared on like comics, shows, and movies. Yeah, Doctor Doom. They really butchered Doctor Doom. Yeah, and the cast and the acting, all the acting sucks, especially Michael B. Jordan as and Miles Taylor, because Michael B. Jordan looks nothing like Johnny Storm, and Miles Taylor's acting sounds like a young dude instead of a more mature person. I thought Alex Highwide, uh, Lone Gruffald, and John Krasinski were decent as Reed Richards, even though John Krasinski played Reed Richards, the dumbest man alive, instead of the smartest man alive. But still, yeah. And the design of the thing can sometimes look cool, but it's mostly ugly and pathetic. Yeah, it looks like nuggets from KFC for some parts, for various reasons. Ugh. And he doesn't have his underwear, which looks kind of weird. But yeah, the Fan Force Steak is terrible, but not, almost as much as the same as as bad as number one. And the number one will be the worst movie of all time is Howard the Duck. This is the absolute worst, because of the cost. Well, the costume of Howard the Duck was decent, but sometimes looks kind of strange. But the main problems are the special effects, the disgusting villain, and the two things that are not quite PG. The sex scene between the Liam Thompson and Howard the Duck, and the duck. Uh, let's just say duck. The two roundish things on her chest, as you can know from the when you watch the film, they look really terrible and really weird, even for a PG movie. Like, I'm kind of curious of what were their parents' reaction to this when in the theater and on DVD. But yeah, this is really terrible. Everything about this movie is terrible. Like, I watched it once and I regret it quickly. It became the worst movie ever of all time. It's down no comparison. This is the ass. Everything, like the plot is a joke. Like, it like takes Howard the Duck to the human world, and there's a lot of bad there's a bad duck puns. Yeah, this is the absolute worst movie I've ever seen, along with Superman 4 and Fantastic. I I give these three movies a 0 out of 10 and a Z plus. No, yeah, Z plus. And yeah, these three bad movies are the worst movies I ever seen, with no redeeming qualities. But yeah, that's it for this video. What is your least favorite movie ever created? Peace out, bye. Stay tuned for another epic video.